Welcome to the Synthesis of Yoga, the book that changed my life. This is our episode number 73. We are going through part 1 of the Synthesis of Yoga. We are in the chapter 5, the Ascent of Sacrifice 1. And in the last episode, we saw Aurobindo giving us clues to the two signs of the central shift in consciousness when we move from normal mental human consciousness to a divine consciousness, higher or deeper consciousness, the two signs of it. Then he also gave us the ranges that are above our normal human mind in the process of ascension. And then that final culmination of it. Then also he gave us the picture of the broad evolutionary trajectory of these higher levels manifesting, and of which supermind as the most critical range of consciousness that alone can transform this lower nature. And this is already prefigured, like in a seed, prefigured in a seed, a tree prefigured in a seed, and it will be unfolding in the process of evolution. It is inevitable. It is imperative. It is part of nature's process. So we are passing through that evolutionary unfolding. And this is the context of yoga of knowledge, the works of knowledge. In the Karma Yoga context, we are looking at sacrifice of knowledge and works of knowledge. And the knowledge ascends into these higher ranges and arrive at integral knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge that is effective, transformative, all the way down to the physical. Now, today's. So those who are new here, you can find link to the chapter in the description. I highly suggest you to follow the text so that we imbibe the rhythm and process of Aurobindo language that will leave its imprint, open up our mind into ranges that otherwise our normal operations of the mind cannot open to. So that's the advantage of reading Aurobindo line by line and in depth, is we are opening to his consciousness. Let's begin. We are starting with paragraph 16. If knowledge is the widest power of the consciousness and its function is to free and illumine, yet love is the deepest and most intense, and its privilege is to be the key to the most profound and secret recesses of the divine mystery. Knowledge, as we saw in our previous episode, in our movement towards integral knowledge and works of knowledge, there is an ascension upward. With that ascension comes widening. Sri Aurobindo spoke about heightening and widening. This widening is natural to knowledge domain. So if knowledge is the widest power of consciousness, knowledge brings that wide scope of seeing across time and space, beyond the present moment, into the past, into the future. And we see in a broad vision, increasing wideness of power. That's what knowledge brings. And its function is to free and illumine. So this heightening we liberate our soul into this profound freedom of the spirit. And it will also illumine our mind, which is normally operating in the human consciousness, that gets illumined by this widening knowledge from above. So there is a freedom, there is an illumination as a result of this ascension and liberation. That's a characteristic of knowledge domain, knowledge work. And yet, love is the deepest and most intense. Now, Sri Aurobindo is beginning to explain to us the sacrifice of love, the works of love. Normally, Karma Yoga is understood as only bodily work. But Sri Aurobindo is giving us 3 domains of Karma Yoga, yoga of works. There is yoga of, or the works of knowledge, works of love, and works of will in life. So now he's moving on to the love dimension, and its characteristic nature is depth. It is the deepest and most intense. So intensity and depth, a stirring of our deepest core, is what the works or sacrifice of love bring. So love is the deepest and most intense, and its privilege is to be the key to the most profound and secret recesses of the divine mystery. Here is where the deepening dimension come into the picture. Secret recesses. So there is a privilege of love. It brings this depth and intensity. And this love is also the key. Its privilege is to be the key to the most profound and secret recesses of divine mystery. There is a divine mystery deep within us. And love is the key with which we can open to this deeper depth, open the doors of this divine mystery. If knowledge is the widest power of consciousness and its function is to free and illumine, yet love is the deepest and most intense, and its privilege is to be the key to the most profound and secret recesses of the divine mystery. In integral yoga, there are 2 movements. One is the ascending movement upward, other is the deepening movement inward. It is in this inward deepening movement, love is the key to open the mystery, divine mystery within. Man, because he is a mental being, is prone to give the highest importance to the thinking mind and its reason and will, and to its way of approach and effectuation of truth. And even he is inclined to hold that there is no other. So we do have a natural tendency to prioritize mind because we are mental beings. That's our highest capacity. And mind and its reasoning intelligence and its will, that is our highest faculty in our current stage of evolution. Therefore, we tend to prioritize knowledge over other faculties of our being. And is prone to give the highest importance to the thinking mind and its reason and will, and to its way of approach and effectuation of truth. So, way of approach, the way we try to understand things, our approach to knowing and being effective, effectuation of truth, for all that we prioritize our thinking mind and its reason and will. And even he is inclined to hold that there is no other. That's the extreme poise it can take. There is no other faculty. Since we are still crossing through the age of reason, that's where the scientific materialism and its discoveries have emerged and now thriving. So here, the methodology that science would use is of rational intelligence, of the thinking mind and its will. That's the faculty that is polished, refined, and used to penetrate into the mystery of the physical material nature, understand her processes, patterns, and it would also discard every other faculty. For example, love as a faculty of consciousness is not something the scientific paradigm can handle. Similarly, will to life, these two, these are all put aside. We prioritize rational intelligence and its will, and even consider that there is nothing else. There is no other power with which we can know. We can be effective. We can be the willing servants of greater truth. Only mind and its reason is the way forward. Man, because he is a mental being, is prone to give the highest importance to the thinking mind and its reason and will, and to its way of approach and effectuation of truth, and even he is inclined to hold that there is no other. The heart, with its emotions and incalculable movements. Our heart and emotions and its motions are incalculable, very difficult to really follow, understand, comprehend. The heart, with its emotions and incalculable movements, is, to the eye of his intellect, an obscure, uncertain, and often perilous and misleading power, which needs to be kept in control by the reason and its mental will and intelligence. Since our heart and its emotions is experienced as something obscure, because we cannot really reach the depth from where this is rising, the emotional responses, there is certain obscurity to it because we are not able to know the depth and with clarity. And it's uncertain. Where it will go, we cannot say. And often a perilous and misleading power. And it can lead us to all kinds of challenging situations, difficulties. So it's a perilous and misleading power which needs to be kept in control by the reason and mental will and intelligence. That's how the rational intelligence would look at our emotional being, its responses to the world that is around events, and its own understanding. We do speak about emotional intelligence these days, but we prioritize rational intelligence. Now, though increasingly emotional intelligence is recognized as the need, but it is something that is experienced as obscure, uncertain, and often perilous and misleading power. So the heart, with its emotions and incalculable movements, is, to the eye of his intellect, an obscure, uncertain, and often perilous and misleading power, which needs to be kept in control by the reason and the mental will and intelligence. And yet, there is in the heart, behind it, a profound mystic light, which, if not what we call intuition, for that, though not of the mind, yet descends through the mind, has yet a direct touch upon truth, and is nearer to the divine than the human intellect in its pride of knowledge. So there is an intuition in the heart that is closer to truth. Here Sri Aurobindo is referring truth with a capital T. Compared to our rational intelligence, this deeper intuition, and Sri Aurobindo discerns between something that is behind heart or behind it, in the deeper depth. We have a frontal heart of emotions that is relatively turbulent, reacting to things. In a deeper depth of the heart, there is something behind. There is a profound mystic light that is veiled, that is hidden. And we may refer to that as intuition. Intuition in the heart, a knowing that doesn't require thinking and analysis. Somewhere you know this is truth. For that, though not of the mind, this intuition is not of the mind, yet descends through the mind. This is an important statement to understand. Remember, the plane of intuition, in our previous episode, Sri Aurobindo explained we are in the normal human mind with its rational intelligence. That's where we normally operate. And in the process of ascent, we discover first a higher mind above, then an illumined mind, then comes intuition, above intuition, overmind, then supermind. That intuition, that there is a plane of consciousness, Sri Aurobindo refers as intuition. That is the seat proper of intuition. From there, it descends down. And it descends through the mind, layers of the mind, and that finds its expression in the deeper heart. That's where we experience. It is something that we know, but we cannot explain, because it is coming from that hidden, deeper depth, and mind has no clue. It is sub-rational. It is below the range of mind. It has come down through the mind, and something in the divine depth or the deepest depth of the heart, there is a knowing that happens with this connection with that which is above. Above is the deeper, higher truth, and in the deepest depth is the psychic being, and the psychic being knows this is greater. This is something that is true, and that knowing is closer to the truth with a capital T. So, and yet there is in the heart or behind it a profounder mystic light, which, if not what we call intuition, for that, though not of the mind, yet descends through the mind, has yet a direct touch upon truth and is nearer to the divine than human intellect in its pride of knowledge. Our human intellect naturally has a pride of its knowledge, its vast philosophies, its vast scientific body of knowledge, its profound mathematical modeling of the world and universe, and the entire capacity. The mind takes tremendous pride in that. And yet, this humble light deep in our depth is closer to the truth. Yet a direct touch upon truth, and is nearer to the divine than the human intellect in its pride of knowledge. According to the ancient teaching, the seat of the immanent divine, the hidden Purusha, is in the mystic heart. The secret heart cave, Hridaye Guhyam, as Upanishads put it. And according to the experience of many yogins, it is from its depths that comes the voice of the breath of the inner oracle. It is one of the yogic experiences that From your deepest depth, there is a voice that directs you. This is not to be confused for our inner chattering of the mind. That is just a superficial outer layer. Not also the gentle nudge of the heart, but a very clear inner instruction that comes, but rarely. It is not something that regularly happens, but for those who follow the path of yoga, sometimes this deeper mystery seated in the heart comes forward and give a very clear instruction. There is the voice of the oracle, inner oracle, the voice or the breath of the inner oracle. There is either a voice or the breath that moves you. There is an impulsion that carries you forward. There is this inner oracle within. And this is a common experience among many yogins. And the Upanishads refers to the secret heart cave, Hridaye Guhyam. And that refers to the little flame in the heart, as small as a thumb. And this too is another imagery that we have received from the ancient seers, rishis. In the depth of the heart, there is a cave, and in that cave, there is a little flame. And it is this inner depth of our being, deep in the heart, is the seat of the immanent divine. Immanent divine, this is something we need to understand in contrast to the transcendent voice of the divine. Transcendent is that which is beyond time and space. It is not here in the creation, it is beyond the creation, beyond the manifestation. Whereas immanent divine is involved here in everything, every little particle. What Ishavasya Upanishad would say in its very first line, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kinja jagatyam jagat. Every particle, everything in existence in this material world is a habitation of this divine. That is the immanent divine, who is involved, and it is permeating across the manifestation throughout everything, regardless of size of things, to the tiniest particles to the largest systems. Everywhere there is the divine presence dwelling as an inhabitation. And the seat of this immanent divine within the human framework of the body is the heart. Not just the surface heart, not the physical pump called heart, but the middle of the chest and the deeper depth of it, where we experience emotions rising. And when we go beyond the waves of these emotions, there is a much quieter, silent space. And that is where, as we go deeper, we almost like enter into a cave and discover the immanent divine and the guidance coming from there. So this is something veiled within us, hidden. It is to be discovered. According to the ancient teaching, the seat of the immanent divine, the hidden Purusha, is in the mystic heart, the secret heart cave, Hridaye Guhyam, as the Upanishads put it. And according to the experience of many yogins, it is from its depth that there comes the voice or the breath of the inner oracle. So now we are going in this direction of the inward journey to find that. And the yoga, the works of love, leads to that discovery. This ambiguity, these opposing appearances of depth and blindness are created by the double character of the human emotive being. So on one hand, it is blind. because we sense truth, but we cannot explain. There is no vision of clear seeing. So therefore, we are referring to it as blind. There is a depth. Something in our depth is moving. There is a stirring of the depth. Or in the calm depth, there is an inner nudge. And yet, there is a blindness to it because of our inability to comprehend the larger picture or the vision, which is actually hidden from us. This ambiguity, these opposing appearances of depth and blindness are created by the double character of the human emotive being. We have our emotional being with its, that is the part that creates emotions, emotional responses, and there's a double character to this part of our being. When we say heart, often it is used in a very vague sense. For example, heart, soul, often these two words are used interchangeably. But in integral yoga, Sri Aurobindo is pointing us towards the need to discern between the two layers, two ranges of the depth. The double character of the human emotive being. For there is in front in man a heart of vital emotion similar to the animals, if more variously developed. So in us there is a vital emotion. The prana, the life force in us surging up and down. Its fluctuation of that energy is experienced as emotion. And this experience, this emotion, is quite similar to animals. Animals have emotions. Only difference between animals and human beings is that human emotions have developed further and refined into a wider range of emotions. So there is in front in man a heart of vital emotion similar to the animals, if more variously developed. Its emotions are governed by egoistic passion, blind instinctive affections, and all the play of life impulses, with their imperfections, perversions, often sordid degradations. So this emotional being in us is egoistic in its nature. I, me, and myself is the central reference from where it is coming. So its reaction to things is something happened to me. If it is positive, if I am praised, I'm very happy, affectionate. If I'm criticized, I'm reacting with anger. And or develop the dislike. This liking and dislike based on I, me, and myself. If I'm feeling things are good and pleasant, yes, I'm happy. If it is unpleasant, I react. So there is this vital emotion similar to animals, if not more variously developed. Its emotions are governed by egoistic passion, blind instinctive affections. So our affections too are blind and instinctive. How? We develop relationships based on so-called chemistry. We feel attraction towards this or that person. And this attractions or repulsions are more instinctive. It is not a product of our rational intelligence, wakeful, conscious mind, but something that is subconscious, something that is instinctive. We spontaneously feel attraction We spontaneously feel dislike, and that's very, very instinctive. And based on liking and dislike, which is instinctive, we develop our affections, or not having any affection. We feel the disconnect. And all the play of life impulses, life energy is impulsive. It is craving, it is impulsively reaching out to consume its objects of desire, whether it is food or sex or any other normal instinctive movements of the life energy in us. It is an enjoyer. It consumes through its pleasure seeking, its power seeking, its affection seeking, all that. And all the play of life impulses with their imperfections, perversions, often sordid degradations. So, this life energy in us, having its reactions and impulses, has a tendency to fall into perversions. We know that. And sordid degradations. This degrade into hatred, jealousy, envy, all types of darker, degrading, disintegrating, toxic emotions. The emotional being has a tendency to degrade and become very, very toxic. It can get trapped in all kinds of jealousies and angers and fears and anxiety, and you name it. There's a whole range of degradation that can happen, even perversions that can happen. Heart besieged and given over to the lusts, desires, wraths, intents or fears, demands, or little greeds and mean pettinesses of an obscure and fallen life force, and debased by its slavery to any and every impulse. So our heart get invaded and taken over by this fallen life force, which is prone to react to prone to go forward with every impulse and get entangled in its interactions with the world around. Even addictions, all kinds of addictions are born out of it, because the life energy in our lower range reaches out to consume this or that gives, which is giving pleasure, and get addicted to it, and it get entangled in it. So all that happens. So heart besieged and given over to lusts, desires, wraths, intents or fears, demands, or little greeds and mean pettiness. Mean pettiness. This is also the tendency when it become an ego issue, that mean pettiness, all that come into the picture of an obscure and fallen life force, and debased by its slavery to any and every impulse. So this is what we have in our frontal part of this heart, which we are normally familiar with. And that is the very reason why our rational intelligence is very, very doubtful about heart and its ability to know anything properly. Because this is the nature of this being, emotional being. For there is in friend in man a heart of vital emotion similar to the animals, if more variously developed. Its emotions are governed by egoistic passion, blind instinctive affections, and all the play of the life impulses, with their imperfections, perversions, often sordid degradations. Heart besieged and given over to the lusts, desires, wraths, intents or fears, demands, or little greeds and mean pettiness of an obscure and fallen life force, and debased by its slavery to any and every impulse. This mixture of the emotive heart and the sensational hungering vital, our senses are the means through which this life energy seeks its pleasure. And it creates that sensational hungering, creates in man a false soul of desire. And this part creates this false soul. And this is called false soul because often people confuse this emotional being to be the soul. And this is one of the common errors that we find happening again and again. We confuse emotional being to be the soul, but it is a soul of desire. It is this that is the crude and dangerous element which the reason rightly distrusts and feels a need to control, even through the actual control or rather coercion. It succeeds in establishing over our raw and insistent vital nature, remains always very uncertain and deceptive. So because of its crude nature, the rational intelligence in us rightly feels the need to control it, coerce it, and yet its attempt to coerce it and control it and put it under control is very, very uncertain and deceptive because it can disrupt the thinking process anytime. It can invade, it can subtly color our very thinking process because we quietly get attached to our emotional preferences and use reason to serve that attachment to say that this is the reason, but behind it is actually your already pre-existing attachment. So reasoning process gets easily distorted, and this idea that it is under control is quite deceptive and it's quite uncertain. So this mixture of the emotive heart and the sensational hungering vital creates in man a false soul of desire. It is this that the crude and dangerous element It is this that is the crude and dangerous element which the reason rightly distrusts and feels a need to control, even though the actual control or rather coercion it succeeds in establishing over our raw and insistent vital nature remains always very uncertain and deceptive. But the true soul in man is not there. It is in the true invisible heart, hidden in some luminous cave of the nature. Soul has to be discovered, and it is hidden in the deeper cave of the heart. Now, this is the journey we have to make. The true soul of man is not there. It is in the true invisible heart, hidden in some luminous cave of nature. It's a luminous cave. There, under some infiltration of the divine light, is our soul. There is some infiltration of the divine light. Infiltration. There is the sun of truth above, the supramental light above, and its rays coming down through the ranges all the way down, and even through the mind, entering through the vital, and infiltrates all the way into the cave. And that is the infiltration of the divine light is our soul. Under some infiltration of divine light is our soul, a silent inmost being of which few are even aware. For if all have a soul, few are conscious of their true soul or feel its direct impulse. While everyone has a soul, very few actually are conscious of the soul or feel its direct impulse, because either we live in the mind and its continuous stream of thought and identification with thought, or we occasionally shift into the turbulent heart and its emotions and ups and downs, which we want to get rid as early as possible. because of these tendencies, we never get to feel that hidden, deeper soul, the light that is there. The true soul of man is not there. That is the surface emotional being. It is in the true invisible heart, hidden in some luminous cave of the nature. There, under some infiltration of divine light, is our soul, a silent inmost being of which few are even aware. For if all have a soul, few are conscious of their true soul or feel its direct impulse. There dwells the little spark of the divine. So, in that deeper depth of that luminous cave is dwelling a little spark which supports the obscure mass of our nature, and around it grows the psychic being, the formed soul, or the real man within us. Our true self is this spark evolving in becoming the psychic being. So we have these three terms. One is soul. This term soul is used as a very generic term that is commonly used by everyone without much precision, by meaning even the frontal heart. But we are referring soul as that which is in our deepest depth. But soul is again a broad term. There is the spark, little spark of the divine. That is the beginning, that's the seed. And this little spark is evolving and becoming the psychic being, the true person. That is the true man. That is our true self. But it is evolving and it is hidden deep within the veil, behind the veil. And this is what supports the obscure mass of our outer nature. Our outer nature, we have this material body. Within this material body, there is our vital energy. Then there is a mind. All these layers are supported by this little spark evolving and becoming the psychic being. And this is the true being that supports these layers. So there dwells a little spark of the divine, which supports the obscure mass of our nature, and around it grows the psychic being, the formed soul, or the real man within us. That's our true self. It is as this psychic being in him grows, and the movement of the heart reflects its divinations and impulsions, that man becomes more and more aware of his soul. So it is in proportion to the emergence or the evolution, the psychic being in him grows. So that spark is evolving. And this evolution is what is happening through cycles of rebirth. The psychic being in us is evolving and emerging. And this is what makes the difference between two individuals. Someone may have a more evolved soul, someone else may be having a less evolved soul. The psychic being is not sufficiently formed. In someone, it may be well formed. And when you have a well formed psychic being, so you naturally, easily start off from that stage. And when you awaken to the spiritual journey, you can easily recover and come in touch with that, because you are being guided by that, and you can recognize it very easily. But when it is not sufficiently evolved, it is hard to recover it, to come in touch with it by cutting through all the intermediate layers of your being. It is as this psychic being in him grows and the movements of the heart reflect its divinations and impulsions. So the frontal heart, the emotional being, is able to reflect the psychic being that is hidden within, and its divinations and impulsions. So on one hand, it is showing the direction. On the other hand, it is giving the impulsion. It is a force in action. It moves your heart. So for the heart to recognize it, the psychic being must have evolved and reached that possibility for it is able to reflect, it is able to give impulsion and give direction, and the heart is able to recognize and open to it. So the movements of the heart reflect its divinations and impulsions, that man becomes more and more aware of his soul. It is when this happens, you become more and more aware. Ceases to be a superior animal and awakening to glimpses of the Godhead within him, admits more and more intimations of a deeper life and consciousness and an impulse towards things divine. Impulse towards things divine. This is what manifests as the triple movements, what in Sanskrit we would say Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. The divinity within us gives the natural impulsion towards all that is true. Truth seeking, something in our heart feels betrayed when you see that someone was lying to us. Because the truth is something very, very fundamental. And the soul breathes in that atmosphere of truth. And it is giving the right impulsion to move towards truth, to celebrate truth, to align with truth. And it knows what truth is. Then there is Shivam and Sundaram, that which is good and beautiful. So the soul within brings us a spontaneous impulsion towards truth, goodness, and beauty. The reason why we look at things that are beautiful and we rejoice in beauty spontaneously without having to analyze anything. There is a spontaneous recognition of beauty in nature, in works of art, in music. We are able to recognize. I don't mean any form of art and anything and everything, but there are profound, beautiful forms of art, music, literature, where something in the heart is rejoicing, in joy, in beauty, in truth, in goodness. So these are all things that are coming from that space. And these are the impulsions through which we get the glimpses of the Godhead within, because that's how it will guide us, not just to move forward in life. And these are the intimations that comes to us. And through that, a deeper life and consciousness is coming to the surface through the heart. So the frontal heart, when it is able to receive that impulsion, we have made great progress. Or the mind able to recognize behind the frontal heart this deeper yearning emerging from the heart, then we have the right contact happening. So it is as the psychic being in him grows and the movements of the heart reflect its divinations and impulsions that man becomes more and more aware of his soul, ceases to be a superior animal and awakening to glimpses of the Godhead within him, admits more and more its intimations of a deeper life and consciousness and an impulse towards things divine. So if this is not discovered, we are only still a superior animal with high power of rational intelligence. Our basic instincts remain the same like that of an animal with its ego, territoriality, and that's why there is so much conflict in the world. And intelligence, with its incredible creative capacity, is serving the ego and animal instincts of territoriality, self-centeredness, and it cannot experience a universal sense of compassion or love because the heart is obscure and you're not able to experience the deeper soul within. And when that is felt, only then the deeper consciousness and life begins to reveal something finer and a profound interconnectedness, a universal love and compassion, sense of deep connection, oneness, and the need for truth, goodness, beauty, all that comes into picture when we come in touch with it. If it is not, we remain as a superior animal with weapons of mass destruction, whether it is artificial intelligence, nuclear weapons, everything is at the service of the animal nature within us. This is a fundamental problem. And in order to overcome that problem, it is critically important that we are able to go beyond this obscure heart of emotions, which is bound by ego and its territoriality and its sense of separation, into something that is deep within, in a deeper, silent, luminous cave, where the spark soul is evolving into psychic being, and it is able to give its right impulsion of truth, goodness, and beauty into it. And that intimations, when we are able to listen, it will begin to guide us, and it will begin to connect with us, the divine truth behind things. It is one of the decisive moments of the integral yoga when this psychic being, liberated, brought out from the veil to the front, can pour the full flood of its divinations, seeings, and impulsions on the mind, life, and body of man, and begins to prepare the upbuilding of divinity in the earthly nature. So this is a decisive moment of integral yoga. When this spark soul evolving behind the veil, that emerges, comes out of the veil, and begins to shed its light and impulsions, not only on mind, but also on the vital as well as physical. That's where the psychicization, the psychic influence come into all these layers. Psychic, by its very nature, is pure, and it brings purity, it brings harmony, it organizes every discord of our mental, vital, and physical being. There is a psychic transformation that takes place. And this is something very, very decisive. And with it comes the possibility of ascension into the higher possibility, building upward into the higher nature. And this is the key to that. It is the most decisive experience and moments in integral yoga when the psychic being liberated, brought out. It has to be liberated. It is veiled in the obscurities of our heart and other layers within. It has to be liberated, brought out from the veil to the front. Then it can pour the full flood of its divinations, seeings, and impulsions. It's divinations. It can know and it can direct. This is the way to go. And seeings, the faculty of seeing, an inner seeing, not the outer seeing, seeing behind and beyond the outer veil of things, outer surface, seeing the soul behind things, seeing the divine presence behind all movements, world events, people, things. The psychic being gives that vision to cut through the outer layers. And impulsions, it also gives the will to move forward. It is a force that is in motion. It moves your mind, your heart, your energy, your senses, your body. So that's very, very important transition in this journey, the psychic being coming forward and pouring in full flood its light that translates as divinations, seeings, and impulsions on the mind, life, and body of man, and begins to prepare the upbuilding of divinity. That preparation of this instrumental nature for the upbuilding means it will be preparing the instrumental nature to ascend into the higher mind, into the illumined mind, intuition, overmind, supermind. That ascension requires the psychic being to emerge and pour its light, pour its visions, pour its impulsions on mind, vital, and physical, purify them, transform them. so that they can learn to open to the light and force coming from above and receive it and begin the ascension upward. So, this is the journey where the works of knowledge we have gone through. Now we are coming to the works of love. And for that works of love, this is the fundamental step, foundation to be laid, because the psychic being is where true universal love is discovered. And knowledge gives wideness, whereas love brings depth. And that depth is opened in our very heart, and there is a frontal heart with its emotions. It's a desire soul. And it is bound by ego and bound by degeneration, disintegration, and all the problems that comes with it. And we have to go beyond it to the depth, enter into the luminous cave, and discover that emerging psychic being. And that will give the upbuilding possibility of our entire instrumental nature. So there is a depth on one side with love, and knowledge brings width. So here we have now touched upon the discovering of the psychic being and its role, and in that, the works of love come into the picture. So with this, we come to the end of today's episode. And to help this channel progress well, kindly click on the like button. That helps the YouTube Baba to recognize this channel and its content and promote it. So that will be one way you can support these efforts. And if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. Keep in touch, and also do share your insights, your experiences. That will help to spread the word. Thank you. See you next week.